Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 4th, and right now on the left, we're looking at the Doppler radar from the Puget Sound down towards the Willamette Valley. Off to the right here, we have the infrared slash visible satellite imagery here as the storm spins off the coast of Oregon, throwing moisture back up over the Pacific Northwest. We'll look at what kind of snowfall totals we can expect here in a moment. Check in Portland here, winter weather advisory up to 3 inches, ice accumulations of light glaze mainly above 500 feet and mainly east of the general metropolitan area there for Portland. Gusty winds 40 miles per hour out of the east there for the Columbia Gorge, especially this morning. Little taste of winter there, but not a big dynamic snowfall event for the Portland metropolitan area down there. So let's just jump right into things here. Pendleton, Oregon, you can see 2 inches for Pendleton, 2 to 3 for the Dalles here, some better amounts for the Washington, Oregon Cascades, and for the higher terrain of northeast Oregon. And this is for Spokane. You can see better amounts the further east you go, generally Ritzville, Spokane, Pullman, off through Idaho, amounts increase also, as we'll look at here in a moment, but nice graphic here from the National Weather Service Spokane. This is for Missoula, Montana, better amounts for the higher terrain, of course. So heads up if you're traveling on I-90, especially through the passes across the area here. Now looking down towards Medford, Oregon, Siskiyou Summit might get some measurable snowfall here, but better amounts down through California, better moisture to work with down there. Crater Lake could still get 4 to 6. Look at Klamath Falls, 1 to 2 inches across the area. Lakeview, Summer Lake here. So heads up, traveling across southern Oregon and northern California. Now taking a look here, I showed this the last 2 days as well, but this goes through tomorrow morning. 1 to 3 feet of snow above 4,000 feet across the Sierra Nevada. Winter storm is still ongoing across the area there. Some winter weather advisories as well. Travel is highly discouraged with possible near whiteout conditions at times. Now we're going to take a look here. You can see the storm system off the coast here, spreading moisture back up over the region, showing some snowfall. You'll probably see some snow if you're in the Portland area today, and maybe even around the Puget Sound as well, as you can see some of that work its way northward and then push off to the east here. So a lot of areas across the Pacific Northwest, including Idaho and Montana, are going to get snow out of this system. Not extremely heavy amounts here, but you can see that eventually tapers off as we go on through Monday evening and eventually on through Tuesday morning, shown there. And looking at a little bit further here, you see a weak impulse move through the area here, but brings some mountain snows for the Washington Cascades, British Columbia, and a stronger frontal system looks like it may arrive as we go through probably on into the nighttime of Wednesday into Thursday morning, shown here. Now taking a look here, this is for Oregon. You can see Portland, 1.2, Cascades, nice amounts. Bend has been trending upwards here with this storm system. Look at Longview, Washington here. Could get some measurable snowfall north of Portland along the I-5 corridor. So heads up for that as you go through the day today. If you're traveling down south on I-5 or north out of Portland there, watch out for that accumulating snowfall on I-5 possible. Now, looking at the Puget Sound area, you can see generally lights amount for Seattle, Tacoma. So probably just brief accumulations here. We're just not quite getting the moisture needed to bring accumulating snowfall down to the surface for long here across western Washington. We can scroll ahead here, and you can see Spokane up towards 3 inches, Walla Walla 2, Kennewick 1.5, lesser amounts for Yakima and Wenatchee shown there. But some pretty big amounts here across some of the southern Washington Cascades. Look at that, over a foot for some of the areas, maybe Mount St. Helens down there. Now taking a look here, Idaho, Montana, you can see Missoula, Butte, Bozeman getting snowfall. Higher terrain, of course, favored. Watch out, again, traveling on I-90 out there. And if we scroll ahead a little bit more, you can see that system move through and really get portions of the higher terrain outside of Kalispell. Great Falls might get up towards 6 inches of snowfall, as well as some portions of eastern Montana. So heads up if you're traveling out there. This is looking at the Sierra Nevada. You can see for California, the areas, the higher terrain is really, of course, favored. You're not going to get any snow down to the valley areas here, but the Sierra Nevada is building up that snowpack pretty good here. Another nice system for them down there in California. Now taking a look here, this is the UW model. So let's go ahead and make sure this is updated fully here and let this run through. As we go through the day today, you can see some of those bands moving across the area, but should just be brief accumulations for the most part through Olympia, Tacoma, Seattle. Maybe see some flake flying as far north as Everett, shown there. The UW model picking up a little bit of that measurable snowfall down in the I-5 corridor here, but again, you can see the higher terrain favored. Now looking down through Oregon, this is just kind of running. Let's actually update this and let it run through because the model is actively running as we speak and we're getting more data fed in. You can see it shows a little bit of snow accumulating around the Portland metro there. Again, mainly east and towards the gorge a little bit more, but looks like maybe a little bit on the I-5 corridor there as you go north out of Portland as well, showing up on the UW model here. Also, and you can see the big amounts across the higher terrain northeast Oregon favored there. And of course, southern Oregon, northern California with some better moisture to work with down there. Now we're going to take a look a little bit at the extended forecast here. Is the European on the left, the GFS on the right, yesterday afternoon's run. Of course, in the short term, we've got good agreement with that storm system moving across Pacific Northwest. See this polar lobe swinging across Canada here, generally misses the Pacific Northwest, tries to bring a little bit of reinforcing cold air into BC. Doesn't do it too well. But then you can see the next system here as we go on in through Thursday morning, moving across Pacific Northwest. GFS a little bit chillier here shown, but then you can see the European generally drops us across the area too. So we'll just kind of watch that for now. A little bit chilly air here, but mainly a mountain snowmaker, not a really big Arctic blast there. Now, as we go on through the extended a little bit further, look what the European does. Strong windstorm blast through Pacific Northwest here, while the GFS has a trough similar but much more open across the west coast here. And then maybe some colder air filtering in behind that. But not bad model agreement in general ridge and trough position here as we go. But the European has a pretty interesting windstorm showing up in the fantasy forecast there. We'll see if that trends towards that direction as we continue. I wanted to show you a little bit closer. This would be the surface map, and I wanted to show you that system coming up here. First, let's look at that frontal system coming through here. You see that this northern movement here of this low pressure across Haida Gwaii here. Just kind of a general front across the area here, some mountain snows, and then we go on to the future a bit here. It kind of remains some troughing over here across Pacific Northwest, but then the European spins up something much more sinister here. As you can see, this low pressure developing off the Washington, Oregon coast and really bombs out and just blasts into Vancouver Island, ripping across Washington. This would be a really severe windstorm. I mean, you're talking 12 millibars Seattle, Portland there, and then you can see 16, 20 millibars Portland, Bellingham. This would be a classic example of a really big windstorm across the area, but this is purely fantasy at this point. This is just one run of the deterministic, so we have to see if this would trend. Even though some of the last few European runs have been showing strong systems move across the area here, any one given solution is extremely low confidence at this time. Just thought I'd show you guys that for now. So taking a look here, let's look and see what kind of winds that system would bring, just out of morbid curiosity here. And here we go. There goes that system. Look at some of these wind speeds, just really hammering all of western Washington, even down towards Portland, Willamette Valley. Look at the coast getting into the action here. Mount Vernon, 65. So you can see some of these powerful gusts that would just hammer the region here in such a storm. But purely fantasy right now. We're just looking out there at the extended forecast. Now, taking a look here, this is looking at the northern hemisphere. There's Alaska, BC, Washington. There's Hawaii and the Pacific Ocean here. Here's Siberia. And you can see this big block kind of setting up over Greenland here. And this is kind of what a lot of Mets have been talking about on Twitter here. And you can imagine the flow coming around this high in this direction, then around these polar lobes here in this direction. So this is what we kind of call cross-polar flow here, when you get some of this activity to bring this flow back across Siberia and through Alaska and back down towards the Pacific Northwest. So you may hear of that term here if you're diving through some of the meteorology tweets there on Twitter, but you can see that big ridge kind of setting up over here and maybe keeping Western Canada cool as we go through the extended. This is the European ensemble run here, and we're looking out pretty far, but we're just trying to find some hints of what's possibly to come, kind of showing some big troughing here over the Pacific Northwest as we continue on into mid-December there. But again, we're taking this with a grain of salt. We're just going to watch this day by day. Nothing set in stone by any means here, but you can see the general troughing move, stay across the area here and remain kind of an active storm track across the Pacific Northwest. And we'll see how that trends here over the next few days. Looking at Seattle, Tacoma, you can see kind of a modification here as we go through midweek here, and then kind of flirting with a little bit of colder weather here as we move through later on in through December. But again, you got to take this with a grain of salt. This is going to change at this point. Taking a look here, trying to search out for some of those fantasy wind gusts here on the Seattle-Tacoma ensemble runs here, the European. If you look at these colors here, these are some of the bigger windstorms roaming around out there, but nothing even trending towards it right now, even though the deterministic run showed that windstorm coming through here. Purely fantasy at this point. Seattle-Tacoma, a little bit of precip today, and you can see kind of the activity pick up again here as we go through mid and later this week here with some bigger rainstorms embedded in there. But again, we don't have anything sniffed out with any great detail as of yet. Spokane, you can see pretty chilly air over there currently. The modification will come during this week here, and then maybe flirting with some colder air in the future here, but this is going to change. Don't put any stock in that at this point. Now, this is something interesting here. This is the Pacific North American Oscillation. And when we're in negative territory here, we kind of have the troughing over Western Canada, west coast of North America here. So this is way back on October 18th. And I'm going to scroll through here. Hang with me here for a moment. Now, we're in late October. We're going to go all the way ahead to November here. And we're going to see how it did with spotting the cold snap that we got. So here we're at November 18th. Scroll ahead, and now all of a sudden you see the European kind of pick up on that negative territory here for the Pacific North American Oscillation here for the end of November into early December. It did quite well. As you can see, it dropped us down in negative territory here and kind of hung on to that and even brought us down more. We're at November 23rd here, yet we're not dealing with that cold snap yet. So it picked up on this quite well here. As you can see, run to run, we're going by. These are 12-hour differences as I scroll back and forth. Now we're on November 24th, the afternoon there, and you kind of see it kept it for us there. So a nice predictor there. The European caught that right about, I would say, the morning of November 20th, shown here. Really caught on to that signal here and did quite well. So I just wanted to show you guys that and praise the European there a little bit. Now, yeah, so I mean, the storm system is, it's given Portland its first taste of winter here across the area here. You might see some brief accumulations around the area, maybe across the I-5 corridor. Like I said, you see some flakes flying around the Puget Sound this morning. Don't get too alarmed. Not a big snowstorm rolling in here. You may see some brief accumulations, though. And I mean, the temperatures are cool enough, though, if we set up some kind of moderate precipitation across the Puget Sound, you could bring that snow level down close to the surface here. But I don't know if we have enough moisture to work with here. It's kind of a nowcast situation where you'd be watching the Doppler radar and seeing what's coming downstream. And these bands are kind of coming off the Cascades here. So if you want to watch that local Doppler radar here, watch for those bands setting up as they come out of the southeast across the Puget Sound here. But again, we're going to get kind of widespread snowfall, not huge amounts as it moves through eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, on in through this weekend and on in through early next week. And it looks like we're going to remain active through the extended forecast here, so we'll try to break down those systems. The European keeps throwing some strong windstorms at us here in the Pacific Northwest, but there is nothing, that we're even trending on as of right now. It's purely fantasy at this point, just kind of a higher than normal forecast, I would say, for a windstorm potentially in the next week to 14 days or so, but really we're just wait and see mode right now. So yeah, leave some comments below. Click like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Channel's doing well. You guys make this all possible. We'll take a look at these models, break them down again tomorrow, and watch your Doppler radars around the area, Portland, Seattle especially, and watch out for that accumulating snowfall if it starts to set up. But again, light amounts generally around the area here, so it shouldn't be a significant snowfall for Portland or Seattle coming up here. But anyway, let me know what you guys are seeing out there. Leave it in the comments below, and we'll do this again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then.